Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the contestants for the first match of tonight's Ultimate Fighting Championship.
In 1993, Gerard Gordeau was invited to compete in UFC 1, the very first Ultimate Fighting Championship. Event organizers had tried to recruit several top Dutch fighters, including kickboxing champion Ernesto Hoost, but Gordeau was the only one willing to step in. Fresh off a Savate championship the year before, most people saw him strictly as a specialist in the French striking art. Before fight night, the competitors gathered in a hotel conference room for a so-called rules meeting. The card was being billed as no rules, and tensions rose fast. Threats, shouting, even a few shoves, leaving organizers wondering if the show might implode before it began.
When you guys rolled into the hotel and they're doing this fighters rules meeting and a bunch of bickering and quarreling came up.
It was pretty much chaos. And I just remember all the managers and the fighters. I mean, it was about to go off right in there. The meeting, nobody wanted to sign the contracts. But I just remember, thinking back, I just remember everybody making excuses. And like I was saying, I expected the worst, so I was there to fight, so.
Teila Tuli later recalled, "My brother looked at me and asked, what do you want to do? I told him, I want to fight. He said, sign the paper and let's get out of here."
So I signed the contract. While I was walking out, the Gracie guy, "Hey, Tuli, where you going?" And I stopped and I looked at him. I'm going up to my room. He said, "What about the contract?" Because, they was all arguing with him. I said, "It's right there, it's signed." And then he told everybody, "Look at that, that's a man." I remember everybody quieted down and I looked at him and I said, "Hey man, I came here to party. If anybody came here to party, I'll see you in the arena tomorrow."
Then came the very first televised bout in UFC history. It lasted just 26 seconds. Tuli charged forward with a tsukidashi, a classic sumo rush. Gordeau sidestepped, letting the Hawaiian crash into the cage, then snapped a right roundhouse kick to the face, followed by a right uppercut that sliced open Tuli's eye. The referee stepped in while Gordeau kept pressing, because back then, a fight ended only by knockout, submission, or a thrown towel. As the referee in Tuli's corner examined the injury, Rorion Gracie, one of the UFC's founders, leaned in, visibly concerned. Commentators Bill Wallace, Jim Brown, and Kathy Long waited for a restart that never came. The ringside doctor ruled Tuli could not continue. Gordeau advanced, but he paid a price. That kick had knocked out 3 of Tuli's teeth, 2 embedded in Gordeau's foot. Doctors simply wrapped the foot, fearing infection if they tried to remove them on the spot. The uppercut also fractured Gordeau's hand, leaving him with a swollen fist for the next round. Tuli, meanwhile, endured blurred vision in one eye for 4 to 5 years after that brutal strike.
Teila loses his balance. Now he stops, they both hesitate, and now, bam, right in the face. That was right at the cheek. I think the punch was above the eye, or just below the eye, and cut him.
The mistake there was not getting up quick enough.
Exactly, he should have been up right away.
Absolutely. But I know a lot about getting up. I'm not going to stay there.
He sat there, I think he sat there, like you said, entirely too long. He should not have sat there. I think the old rules are the match is broken up by the referee and you get up and you start again. But
I think that's what he thought.
People have to realize that there's just no holds. If you're down, you stay there.
Here we are again.
Okay, here we go. Now watch. There's a hesitation, and bam. See where the kick lands? Just below the cheek. Now that stuns Teila. He turns back around and takes a right hook punch to the face. I think that's what did the cut.
I'll tell you, there was a move when he was being charged, when he put his hands behind the head.
Exactly.
When you put your hand behind the head,
push him away.
It pushes you down.
Exactly.
Your own force works against you.
Exactly. And that's 420 pounds going down.
Gerard Gordeau was probably the second baddest guy in that tournament behind Royce Gracie. You drew him right off the bat. What did you think when you saw him standing across the cage from you before that fight started?
I was thinking about my knees. I knew he had some wicked kicks. So I was thinking all about my knees, but yeah, he's a great fighter. But he's also a lucky fighter. I was 1 inch from tagging his chin. If I would have tagged his chin, it would have been a different game, but Like I said, I paid the price.
What was it like when it was over?
Honestly, when I think back to that time, I can only think how lucky I am that my brother threw the towel in. Stopped it, because, like I said, I went into there and thinking of promoting myself in the wrong way. Like, I wanted to show off. That's what I wanted to do in UFC 1. I wanted to show people I can kick with the, you know what I mean, with the best of them, but I'm happy my brother threw the towel in, because at that point, that's when I woke up and I knew, like, you know what I mean? And I don't know what I would have done. I would have took Gordeau's throat or his balls off. You know what I mean? That's where my mind was. That's when I was like, I couldn't see out of my eye. I knew my tooth was gone. You know what I mean? And I knew I was on survival mode. I was thinking, man, I gotta take his nuts out or his throat. That's what. And so I'm blessed that I had my brother there, throwing the towel in.
It was not an easy fight, because it is 250 kilos, I think. It is a lot of meat. How you stop that? And then you have to have the knowledge or the quality to do that, to take his skills, you take his balance, you take his power to disturb that and to knock him out. Because he have lucky, because when he fell down, his head was with the fan, you call it fan?
Right next to the fence?
I don't kick it with the shin. Normally I don't kick with the foot, only to the head. When I kick it to the shin, I don't have to punch him anymore, but he was too close, otherwise my tones have to go in the fan, and that is the reason I have to kick it with the foot. But normally I kick with the shin, and then I don't have to punch him.
The fact that Tuli's head was pressed so close to the fence forced Gordeau to strike with the instep rather than the shin, likely costing him an immediate knockout and leading instead to the follow-up punch that resulted in a fractured hand. That injury ultimately affected his performance in the final, as Gordeau later admitted. But there was another detail, one that would prove crucial in the outcome of the final, and one we'll come back to.